Namaskar and good evening all. On behalf of Karyashala, a very warm welcome to all of you who have joined us today for our 25th online episode of MANTHAN, a series of talks to stay connected. Today we have with us a nature artist from Hungary, Professor Eros István. Thank you, Professor, for accepting our invitation and joining with us today. With great honor, let me introduce our today's speaker, artist István Erőss works at Eszterházy Károly Univerity Eger, Hungary as a professor of the visual arts department. He graduated from the Hungarian University of Fine Arts in 1995 as a printmaker, but he also attended other institutions such as the Academy of Fine Arts, Vienna, the Royal Academy of Arts, and the College of Fine Arts in Marseille. He has taken numerous professional trips to remote countries. He has been to Africa and Asia as a guest artist, exhibitor, lecturer, or curator of different artists' camp and symposiums. He is exhibitor and organizer of the series of international exchange exhibitions entitled Segment. He has also participated in a group and solo shows at national and international level. In the last 20 years, he has mainly focused on creating nature art works. Without taking much time, let's invite artist Professor Eros István to talk on nature, the new medium of expression. Artist Professor Eros István.
Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for the invitation. So I'm going to talk today about nature art as you introduced my speech, because nowadays there is a very normal that we are creating art pieces outside of the studios, and we are showing our pieces outside of the galleries and museums. Not always was like this. So I just want to introduce a little bit about nature art and how it happened that artists in the 60s, they moved out from the galleries and they had a better feeling creating art pieces in the nature, in the land. Probably everybody knows the name is land art. Until nowadays, we have this notion which covers this attitude. But it's a little bit more nuanced and more different, the nature art than land art. So briefly, I want to make a very short introduction about the history in the sense of what was the relation between art and nature in the ancient times. So if we look back, we can see that land art began not in the 60s, few thousand years before they already existed. So if we look at Stonehenge or the pyramids, we can see that they were probably one of the first land art pieces, but they had different functions. They had sacralic and ritual functions. They were used in the context of the nature, in the context of the landscape, but the function was different. And later on, in the period of cathedrals, it was also very important the context of the art pieces. The context was the architecture. So you can see the windows, colorful windows, the sculptures, everything belonged. So it had a function beside the aesthetic function, the sacralic one and the ritual one. So you can see here how it's how is designed the surrounding area of a sculpture. The first time when in the history, art history, when one art piece lost this sacralic and ritual function was in the 18th century. During the Enlightened period, during the French Revolution, it was building the first museum, the Louvre in Paris. The function of this museum was to collect art pieces and to hang on the wall and to show it to the people. Before, it was not usual this. You can see another exhibition space. So all these art pieces are without context, original context. They are collected from different parts of the world and shown like a piece of documentation of the past. Say, for example, this very famous sculpture, it was found in a small island and brought to Paris in the Louvre. And it has no anymore the original function. So all around Europe in the 19th century, you can see here the exhibition space from Budapest, from Prague, and even from New York, the MoMA. These huge museums showing the art pieces were searching for documents of the past. So they were collecting art pieces and showing to the people. And this was some kind of place of the common memories for a nation, for humanity. So you can see here how it was exhibited. So no any coloration, no any context of the paintings. So just scientifically organized and shown. The first time, one famous artist, probably everybody knows Brancusi, he was the pioneer showing his sculptures in the nature, intentionally. Probably not everybody knows, but Brancusi was born in Romania, not so far from my birthplace, in a very small village. So he was a villager originally, living with the folk art. So when he became famous, worldwide famous, and he was living in Paris, celebrated artist, he decided to make sculpture in his home town, let's say, in Târgu Jiu in Romania. And as he wanted to exhibit his work, he realized that it's missing something. So he designed the background of the sculpture, his sculpture. And the background was the nature. So you can see here the sculpture. It's precisely designed. Everything spaces it's funded. So very scientifically and intentionally, he found the background of his sculptures. Here is the table of the silence. So you can see that not by accident, it's the background. You can see here his sculpture park. So he had a long correspondence with the authorities, local authorities from Paris, how to plan the background of the sculpture. So you can see here, I did these pictures a few years ago in the park. So the beginning, of course, was different. But what is really important, because he comes from a small village and his childhood he spent in the nature, so probably it came this idea to design this sculpture park in this way. And it was something totally new, which not so many people knows about it. After it happened in the 30s, 1930s. So it happened the Second World War, and after the Second World War, the humanity had a very fast development in the industry. So it was a very fast economical growth, and mostly in America, but also in Europe, it was built up a gallery system. So rich middle-class families, they could afford to buy art pieces, which was not so common before. So all these galleries, they offered for these middle-class people just the right pieces of their taste. So the artists became celebrated persons and rich as well, because as much they could pay for the art pieces, the artists became more rich. So slowly, with growing the number of the galleries, the commissioners, they were influencing somehow the art. So maybe the size, maybe the colorful, how colorful it should be, and so on and so on. But it became some kind of negotiation. So it happened in the 40s, 50s, even the 60s, that it grown this gallery system. So it became more the function of the art, the aesthetical and mostly the financial value became the most important. The sacralic, as I told, it disappeared, and the ritual as well. So the galleries, they give way aesthetical and the financial values. So after, in the end of the middle of the 60s, some artists, they didn't want to take part. They didn't want to participate in this gallery business. And like a conceptual attitude, they moved out from this gallery system. From New York, from the big cities, they tried to find a new way of their expression. So that's how it happened that in the second part of the 60s, few artists, they moved out and they created in the remote areas like lakesides, deserts. Anyway, very far from the cultural centers. Probably everybody knows this spiral jet. And because we are in USA, we know that there is a plenty of space, huge lands. So they could make a huge art pieces. And you can see the coloration between the pyramids and ancient periods like Inca, Maya periods. This is the Hague piece. And as I put it, they had the great creativity of the humanity. So also in the art pieces. So they were moving hundreds of tons of soil and putting hundreds of tons of concrete in the art pieces. So before they had centimeters, now they are using kilometers. And they didn't worry about nature. So the whole intention was not to worry about the nature or to cooperate with the nature. So the intention was to show the power of the human being, the creative power of the human being. And it happened something very short time after they started in the 60s. It was that we managed, the humanity, to go in the moon, and we got about our planet. You can imagine it was something new. We never had this experience to see our planet from outside. In one hand, we were celebrating our capability to fly on another planet and to see our planet from outside, the technical performance. In the other hand, we could see our planet from outside. We could see how fragile it is. So we have only one. Because this experience, that behind our globe, there is a huge, endless space. It's put the people to think that we should take care probably of our planet. So you can see in the both sides, the Western and Soviet area, every people was very happy that we managed to go to the moon. Every child wanted to be an astronaut. We in the 60s, early 70s, we were celebrating the humanity's performance. I remember I was a child. I'm an old man, you can see. So in the school, there was very often this topic: how will be my village, small village in the mountains? How will be my village in 2000? So we had to imagine and to make a drawing about our vision. So somehow we had this kind of imagination. You can imagine a very small village, and we had the imagination that we will fly with helicopters, we go to the school by metro and skyscraper. So we had in our mind, because we could see everywhere this. But it didn't happen. That's how it looks, my village, nowadays. Fortunately, it didn't happen, I would say. We had also from the 60s, you can imagine this is a moving city. The humanity had an imagination that we make floating cities and changing place every time. If we like one place, we make a stop. So you can imagine how we imagine the perspective of the globe. So here you can see that Armstrong is on the moon, and in the same time, we had some communities in the Amazonas and Papua never met Western people or other cultural people. They were still isolated, and they didn't know about the whole humanity. And there are some tribes until nowadays who had just a few connections with the rest of the humanity. And it was in the end of the 60s, beginning of the 70s. So they were living their normal lives like they were doing for 10,000 years. So no big change in their lifestyle. In the contrary, with the Western style. So these happenings that we went to the moon and all these things, slowly they changed the mind of the artists as well. You can see here Michael Heiser's work, which is some recovering the core mind. So it's like a surgery, landscape surgery. So they didn't destroy anymore. They wanted to recuperate the landscape. And there was another kind of attitude. This is totally different than we seen before. This Richard Long, for example, he was walking just in the grass, making his art piece with the walking, so not destroying, just making a sign. So the intervention was very tiny. It's Ulrich Bischoff calls the tiny intervention, which called a small gesture. The work we seen before, it was a big gesture, transforming the landscape totally. And this one is the small gesture, just a tiny intervention, just to put the audience to think about it. You can see here in the high mountains, just arranging the rocks in a way that the visitor, or better to say, the people who can see the documentation, they can realize that it's an intervention, it's an art piece. Or this is some kind of activism we can see in these works. In the, for example, Hans Hague, he collected the garbage, exhibited on a gallery covered with soil and growing green grass. So I think you can see the difference between the attitudes of the artists in the 60s. It's very interesting. All these artists, Hans Hague or Agnes Denes, they were Europeans, and Richard Long as well. So they had no before this experience with a huge lens. So this is another question why it could happen. Here I show you a Hungarian-born artist who lived in New York, Agnes Denes, who planted a piece of land in the middle of the Twin Towers. And then he had the harvest, and then he gave it the present to the New York police. So you can see the contrast between the capital, the symbol of the capital, the Twin Towers, and this very honest gesture with this very expensive piece of land in Manhattan. There were also some other, let's say, eco-activist artists like Helen and Newton Harrison, the couple, who were collaborating with the scientists, and then they shown in the galleries their research results. At the same time, that's happened mostly in America. Even there were some Europeans that they were living in USA. But what happened in Europe? In Europe, in the same time, in the end of the 60s and 70s, we have a movement mostly focused in Italy. We had so-called arte povera, which was some kind of gesture about the same gallery system, about some kind of not to make art pieces which can be sold. So art povera is on the poor art, which means that they didn't use marble, bronze, canvas, oil color. They used common materials, the cheapest materials, to show that art can be done also with these cheap materials, and probably it cannot be sold. So it was some kind of rebel attitude against the gallery system. So you can see many times they use the open space, but next they use cheap natural materials, even exhibited in the galleries. But it was some kind of protest to show up the protest that we don't want to make for you money. You see, and also what was really important that they appreciated a lot the farm knowledge. So they put in the galleries the tools of the farmers. And this, we are talking about now the Western Europe mostly, and Italy. So I would like to talk what happened in the same period in Eastern Europe. You know, probably, maybe the youngest generation, they don't know, but Europe was divided in two zones: the Soviet zone and the Western Europe. And so we had an iron curtain in between, not so much communication between parts of Europe. This was the situation until 1990. So I will show you some media research. So what happened in the 60s, 70s in the east part of Europe? You can see here also some art pieces from the farmers. They borrowed from the farmers from Romania. This is an art piece from Romania in 1970. Ana Lupas, artist Ana Lupas. You can see here some very simple interventions. So you must know that about the contemporary art in eastern part of Europe was not so much knowledge. It was even forbidden. So the politics was controlled by the government totally. And all these progressive artists didn't want to take part in this ideological politics. They voluntarily moved out in the small villages and they did contemporary art in their own native village. So you can see here some examples how it was also some kind of protest about the official politics, official cultural politics. So you can see here, this is late 70s in Romania. There was a group of artists who were, it's very important, they were a group. So they had a common way of thinking, common goals, and so on and so on. They made performances in the nature. In Hungary, there were separated artists who were doing the same, living in villages and creating contemporary art. You can see here one of the most famous Hungarian artists, Imre Bukta, who finally managed to exhibit in Venice Biennale. So he was teaching in my department a few years ago, and he's still living in his own home village, and he's keeping on doing art in his village, inspiring from his village. You can see here some actual art pieces he's doing now. Just 5-6 years ago, he did these color pictures. So this is a show in Venice Biennale. So you can see that he's using this arte povera materials, we could say. And later on, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, also in Western Europe, there were creating the second generation, let's say the second generation of the artists who were creating art pieces in the nature. So here you can see Udo Nils' art piece. He was studying in Paris, but he lives in south of Germany, using local materials and the local site. So, and the most well-known is Andy Goldsworthy, probably you know. He's using also very simple, but I think in this case, the expressive material are replaced with the creativity. So they are using the most simplest materials, but the creativity is giving a power for these pieces. You can see here using yellow leaves, very simple, but in the same time very creative attitude. Using different materials like ice, water, you will see examples like leaves, colorful leaves, sand, ice. Another approach is when artists, sculptors, they place their art pieces in the nature. They brought out in remote areas. One of these prominent artists is Abakanovic, a Polish artist. He is like artist. He preferred to show sometimes his pieces in the nature. David Nash, also a very famous artist, sculptor originally, but his site where he shows his work is the nature. You can see here different situations: in the seaside, in the riverside, in the park. So it's I think it's here we can talk not just about the quality of the art piece, but about the context of the background, the nature, and the sculpture, like Brancusi did it. So here I will show you some examples. The artists who are still living and creating in different manners. I would say a classical land artist, but James Starrell, he's doing huge pieces, but it's like landscape design, more or less. History. So, where is tiny intervention? Cornelia Conrad is another generation who started his career in the 90s. Snowballs, for example. Karin van Molen is my generation. She's a Dutch artist. I show you Donald Douglas. He's from New Zealand. And another piece. Fred Martin is also a French artist, my generation, around 50 now. Urs Twellman, Swiss artist. He lives in Switzerland and he's using the high mountain area like the background of his pieces. See Steven Seeger, he's recycling newspapers and building his sculptures from the used newspapers. Japanese artist Olga Ziemska, Polish artist who lives in USA. Roger Tribon from Philippines. Nikolai Poliski, he's a very special guy. He lives not so far from 100 kilometers from Moscow in his village, and he's using the help of the local people, unemployed people, and so on. So he's making huge art pieces, but they are not usually permanent art pieces. So after finishing the artwork, they make a festival celebrating and so on, and later on they burn it. You can see here. So they don't. He's not. He doesn't want to keep it for you forever. He's using like temporary art piece. Herr Parker from USA. He's also professor in the university. Amy Embrecht, also from USA. Martin Jablonski. So you can see how simple in intervention. So that's how probably children they can play. Another example. And what is really important, I know that Peter Alpar was presenting also for you a few months ago. This is his work. what is really interesting, how one art piece looks like in different periods of the year. So you can see here below the winter time, autumn, springtime, summertime. So how it changing the effect of the art piece during the year. And it's important how the ephemeral materials is using. So in this case, when we are using ephemeral materials, the time directly is included in the art piece. So we know exactly when we create that it will disappear. So it shows some different attitude when you take a piece of marble and you make sculpture, because want to keep it forever, for endless sculpture you are making. In this case, it's different. So we're choosing a material which you know that it will disappear. Also here you can see. This is one of my students. Very simple, but very strong concept. Simple material, cheap material, but the concept, it's important, the same. These pieces I'm showing to my students how, because if some of them they become teachers, and it's very easy to use with young children in the school. The idea, Firman Jamil from Indonesia, Roy Stab. So here from USA, here you can see that they're using the surface of the water of the lake. So the reflection, Stridon one emerged from South Africa. It's also his work. Pokorny from Hungary. Leandra Gonzalez. And now these are the last ones. They were the youngest generation. Now I want to show you that in the 80s, mostly in the 90s, after the millennium, it became some kind of network in this movement. So all the artists, they were working in the nature. We have a network, so we share information and so on. But at the same time, we can find some art centers. For example, Yorkshire Sculpture Park in England, in the middle of England. So they started with a normal sculpture park. You can see here, like Henry Moore sculpture. So they started to collect, and later on they switched. They made site-specific shows, and later on became some kind of nature art park. If you go to England, you must visit this. You can see here, it's very directly, you can understand that the context of the background is the nature. So you can see even the wild animals, they are around them. This is in Lithuania, also a sculpture park, which is functioning like nature. The most famous is Artesella in northern Italy. So this was started with the idea of creating nature art. In the high mountains. You could see the cover picture before. So this is the work of Giulio Mauri. It's a cathedral of the nature. So it's very interesting how you walk around the mountains and you can visit the site-specific art pieces. Here are some examples. Wintertime, summertime. So this cathedral looks like this wintertime. This is the art piece of Stridon from South Africa. This event is in North Finland. without electricity, without any facilities. They work in the forest and they create there. So here the documentation is becoming very important because the visitor, they cannot see it. The Green Museum, it's in Israel, so it was founded by Tanya Preminger. And there are some extreme situations to show our pieces, like museum under the sea level, in the ocean, near Cancun. In here, I think the quality of the sculptures is not so important. It's some kind of fun to visit the sculptures under the water. But the context again, it became the same sculpture would had a different effect in a green grass, for example, and slowly how the nature helps the artist to change the effect of the art piece. So it's becoming some kind of cooperation between art and nature. Also in Asia, there are some very important centers like Echigotsumari. This is a valley where after an earthquake, people they moved out, so they have a strategy how to attract back the visitors and the local people. Local people can afford, they can provide accommodation, food, and so on. So some kind of revitalization of this valley with the help of the art. You can see here some examples. So artists, they are working during 6 months and with the help of the local people. So it's quite interesting. And this example was taken in other regions of Japan also and in other parts of the world. This is Abiko open air near Tokyo, north of Tokyo. It's organized by an association, artist association. This is Funasaka Biennale near Osaka. It's also here. It's a village with very old people, and these old people, they have an association. It's very funny. They hired from Kobe University an art historian who is making the curatorial work, but basically it's organized by this old people's association. So they are bringing contemporary art, nature art in their village, attracting audience from Osaka in the weekends or during the week as well. And I had a really nice experience in India as well, in Rajasthan. There is probably artist Chintan Upadhyay, and it happened in his native village. He organized site-specific symposium. I think he started in 2007. I participated first time in 2008. Here, of course, the topic is the pollution. So, and the local material and collaboration with the villagers. So this cultural shock we had there, it gave us the chance to create those site-specific works, and the inspiration came also from the village. You can see here Japanese artists' work. This is a group from Iran. They are creating in the south part of Iran, in an island, Hormuz Island. It's a beautiful place. This is Taiwan, Gwandu National Park. They are organizing yearly a symposium, the topic nature art. So here you can see some very important documents about the history of nature art, I would say. In 1985, there was a huge show in Europe with the title Resource also in Budapest it was shown. And in the 90s, there was published Art in Nature. This was about the European nature art associations and collaborations in Europe. And the convention is about USA. It was published by Suzy Surek. So you can see here how nowadays it became this international network in nature art. You can see here that in 1989 it happened that in Asia, Asian artists, they made the first show in Europe, in Hamburg, in Germany. So then it started a collaboration. Later on, they included also Eastern Europe, USA, then later South Africa, South America. So nowadays we have a international movement. Even we have a site where we can share information. Who is organizing this international movement is the Yacht group from South Korea. So they are organizing also nature art biennial every second year. So I was participating several times. This is the opening ceremony in 2006. So you can see here their activity was started in the late 70s, early 80s. So it was very similar with the Romanian group artists I was talking. So they were also, they found in the nature some kind of possibility of refugee work hidden in a hidden place. So here you can see these two groups from Romania and Korea from the early 80s. In the same time, they didn't know about each other. So just 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, I discovered that how similar they were in these two parts, 10,000 kilometers from each other. So this piece was done in Korea. And this was 10,000 kilometers from in Romania. The same age people, the same attitude, the same mentality. So this is a question how it would happen. There are, of course, explanations, but it's another topic. So one of the key persons of the Yatu is Li Wu. So these are I think this is the first event in the 1980 or 79, I don't know, in the Riverside. You can see here his works. This is a piece of artist in the 2006 Biennale. You can see that all the art scene of the Biennale is in the forest, in the mountain. So some people growing mushrooms, some artists using grass, flowers, and 2018 Biennale, I've been invited like the artistic director of the Biennale. So the topic was shelter in the forest. So I could bring my students, like assistants, to work with the selected artists for 1 month period. So they could see what is the creative process from the beginning till the end when was completed the artwork. So here you can see a few works, and because the topic was very specific, many cases it was a collaboration, architect and an artist. So here you can see an artist from Hungary whose son was an architect, so they collaborated. It's a Romanian artist, Romanian-Hungarian artist, Pat Peter, South African artist with a brother who is an architect, so they did this art piece. You can see the shelter. Macedonian artist, French artist. So here I show you some other books about nature art, but you can follow us also how it changed, how became more sophisticated this expression land art. So that was the beginning. I think this land art catalog is from 1972, I think. Then in the 80s, it was edited a book by Ellen Sonfist, which title was Art in the Land. So land art, art in the land. Then in the 90s, it was Art in Nature. It was published in Italy by Vittorio Fagone, this book. And the last one was published by myself in 2010, I think, 11. I published with the title Nature Art. So land art, art in the land, art in nature, nature art. So how it changed the notion. Also the content changed a lot. So now I will show a few works I did. Maybe this is the one of the first pieces I did maybe 20 few years ago in Japan. So I can tell you my experience that it was not so easy when I met in Japan these few artists who already had a practice in creating in the nature. So my first 2 weeks was really like a suffering, what to do, how to do, because I was used with the creation in the studio, showing in the gallery. So I could not imagine how can I make an art. So after maybe 10 days, I got the idea, and then I did this art piece. So I used the local bamboo. I get it from the forest just nearby, and I hang stones in the pipes. So I placed on the water. It was floating on the water, and it was making sound. So you could hear nearly 24 hours noise of the bamboo pipes. This is another piece I did in Korea. This is also a collaboration with nature, which is very specific feeling when you are doing something and you need the nature to help you in the function. So this piece is moved by the wind and it's making some noise, some music. You can see here these copper instruments, local instruments, Korean instruments. So the funny thing is that it's attached by stick. The whole piece is like 5 meters high, turning around, but it's installed by sticks. You can see here the chopsticks. Also in Korea, I found a dry tree in the forest. I took it out and I fill up with chopsticks and I placed back. So it's like 11 meters high. You can see here how it's. So it was in 2008. So also another effect in the winter time. So it became brownish. The white snow so is changing the effect. This I made in Germany. It's like, and again back to India. This was the 2008 I told you before. So it was plenty of raw material for art piece. The cow dam, you see everywhere you can find, which was just perfect for me. So I asked the local people to bring me cow cake. So they made a small chapel, a holy space for me. So I spent a whole day with meditation. So in the end, in the evening, they You can see how it comes the idea. Just walking in the forest, I found this plant. So I made a pullover. In the same time, I think the cheapest material is your own body because you don't need transportation anyway. If you go for exhibition, then you are there. So it's for myself. It's a very economical and cheap solution to use my body. You just need to bring with you your creativity. So this is another art piece, body art piece I did on a holiday in Croatia with my family. You can see I was staying on the sun and I get burned. So you can see. So my children, they cut the forms of the pots. So I put it and I spent a few hours on. This is a winter time. I made a snow suitcase. It was my home village. In my home village, it was -20. So in this performance, I used needles. We were in a forest in England, so that was the most convenient material, the needle. So I was beating my body, so I get some kind of allergy and burned and not sleeping for a few nights and so on. So this is a boxing gloves made by Brad, out of Brad. So here is a plan for an art piece I did in Germany. So I used the sheepskin. I collected a lot of sheepskin. So I made this sculpture and I covered the sheepskin. This piece, I think it's in Bulgaria. Yes. This one I did in 2010 in Japan. You can see the difference. So it's I let me influence by the local culture, so the Japanese culture. So it's more simple, more calm, more. This is pieces in Germany. I did it in Germany, but here I started to use living materials like mold. So I was creating mold on the sculpture. So it made me a pleasure that I built up the body of the sculpture and I let the nature continue. So you can see here, it's like 2 meter high head, and I covered with mold. It was changing always the shape, the color, and the quality of the mold. It was changing. You can see. So it's some kind of symbol of cooperation with the nature. So I don't want to make a finished art piece and put it here and to see that that's it. So I let it happen as it happens. This piece I did in Japan, in Funasaka Biennale. You can see here I got green mold. I don't know why, because maybe of the water. That kind of water, it has the effect on the color. Sometimes the material, the bread I use is different. So this piece I did with my students. We went in high mountains with the tents and we spent maybe 10 days there. So we collected the material from the area. We didn't cut any piece. We just collected prime material and we did all together. So that was a practice for them, how to start with the idea, how to make research in the area, and how to realize the art piece. The size, what size is perfect for this area, it's one. This piece, it's in Korea. It looks like in an eco park entrance in the top of the hill. And what is interesting that in the nighttime it's connected to the street light. So inside I have blue light, so you can see from 5 kilometer distance. This one I did in Mexico. It was a trip with the artist group. This one, it's a sculpture park in Taiwan. It's like 30-meter high. I also use chopsticks. It looks like this in the nighttime. You can see how it's placed. It's considered how where are the trees and so on. So it was a common discussion with the organizers, and then finally we did the perfect place for the sculpture. So it looked like this in the nighttime. And this one, I think 2 years ago, I did here in Hungary with students. So I made the concept, and we went in a small village, and with the local people and my students, we built it up. It's some kind of interactive sculpture, so children, they can go in and they can play and so on and so on. So you can see the size how it is, and also it was a very hard work to fix the branches and so on. So it looked like this, and nighttime. It's about the village in a hillside. So it looked like this. So in Hungary, we tried to we had a lot of events in nature art. So we had invited a lot of prominent artists. So as I told you, we are teaching in university level the nature art. So we have a BA specialization in nature art in my university. So we accept like 10 students every year, and near my university, there is an artist association who owns a cave system. These caves, they used to be flats for poor people, but they moved out. So this association, they bought the caves. So now we use it like exhibition space, like creative space. We invite from all over the world artists who want to work with us. So summertime, it looks like this. So it's a cave system. It's always changing. So they are making like a negative structure inside. You can see here. So, and we have, of course, presentations for the students and symposiums. This is a piece done by Indonesian students. So we invite also other university teachers and students. So the point is that the students and teachers, professors, they work together. So the students, they can see directly the whole process. Of course, they are free to use their own body. Of course, these are some students maybe 10 years ago. At the beginning, they did this. So this is the atmosphere working in the caves. I think Taiwanese students, you can see. Yes, students from Taiwan and professors. So we have lunch in the village. In the evening, we cook for ourselves. So how it goes our program? Because we cannot spend all the year in the caves or in the nature. So they must learn some skills. So we start with the normal program like drawing. You can see here. So they have to learn the basic knowledge of drawing, casting, modeling. So, but you can see here. But because in Hungary we have three universities where they are teaching, they have sculpture department. So my idea was to make something different, not the same like they are doing. They are perfect in modeling, sculpting. So we are the difference between our program and the other two institutions is that we are using different materials. As you can see here, these are in the second level. We are helping them to use alternative natural materials for creating sculptures. For example, sunflower seeds you can see here, or egg skin, and all kind of materials, natural materials. So this is some kind of program for us. Sometimes they get the same amount of material, wooden bars like here, and we are analyzing what is the difference between the creations of the students. You can see here one student how they had to make their own body with the same proportion, anatomically perfectly done. So you can see here another student how he used the same material. The third student, the fourth. So and so on and so on. This here is another problem. It's the combination with other materials. Sometimes we are giving just cardboard, simple, the cheapest cardboard, and they have to create. There are some examples for that. So you can see that we want to make something specific, so not the same like in others. So here there one student, like I think it was a diploma work of her. She used the bread, taking negatives of human beings, and he was baking it, and so on, in different way of exposing. Here is she took a negative of her body and he was baking like a cookie. There, here she's using just normal soil. She took the soil and she was making her body. This is a combination of their materials with green grass. This is also a diploma work. So that's how we put them to make different than the normal sculpture department they are working. This is a exhibition situation. So sometimes they are using curry powder and clay and so on. So these are some kind of installative way of creating. Also, they are using their own body. Sometimes they invite their parents and grandparents to take part in their performance. Even the animals, some collaborative work they are doing. It was a very fast snow and which disappears one day to the other, so you can see same piece. This is a student he made in the summer camp in Hungary. Very small, nearly invisible intervention in the front trunk. So they covered with the stones in the river, snow This, I think it was a homework for students, and they did it in their own garden. Yeah. This is a collaborative work. It's like 50-meter long. Probably you can see. And as I told you, we have a chance to bring them like assistant Korea for this nature art biennale. So here you can see the team, the students' team. So here they had a chance to make their own work, which was included in the catalog of the Biennale. So here you can see my book, which is a brief history of nature art, and some theoretical part also it's included, and some I analyzed some art pieces. And I was mentioned about this the international network. So in 2013, we've been invited to Korea for a conference where we had a few days discussion, and we decided to make a so-called global nomadic art project. So we are traveling all around the globe, and in very specific places we are creating art. Um, so all this, so this event it takes like maybe more or less like 10 years. So now it's nearly finished, but we had still some plans, but this with the COVID, it's gone now. So you can see here which parts we visited until now. So every time there is an organizer and international artists, they travel and they're more or less like 1 month, and we are creating and documenting these art pieces, and we have a show at the site, and we are planning to make a final exhibition in Seoul, in Korea. This is 2017. I was the organizer of the Global Nomadic Art Eastern Europe, Bulgaria, Romania, and Hungary, and we had a final show here in Budapest. The last one was in Mexico, in a very beautiful place in a rainforest. So we visited a eco village, which unbelievable. The buildings are like art pieces. So they are built from the local materials and the site-specific materials, and they are using solar panels. The toilets, they are filtered water. They don't exclude any dirty water. Even gray water is not allowed. So it's some kind of because you can see what kind of environment they are living. So this is like a 54 hectares of village, and it's an international community living ecologically very organized, and but the whole village like it's like a heaven. So it's and not so far from this village in the Tulum city, nearby Tulum city, there was built a contemporary art museum which looks like this. The museum itself is built from organic local materials. You can see branches and the material they found in the site. What is really interesting is this was built by the grandson of Peggy Guggenheim, so it belongs to the Guggenheim Museums. This in Tulum, in the south of Mexico. You can see here it's a so strong atmosphere that itself you can, so you feel like an art piece itself, the building. And not so long time ago, it was published catalog, which in this catalog you can find all these art centers which are involved in the nature art movement. So the last question would be why it's good to work in the nature and to use natural materials or all this whole concept. Why is different and why uh, mm, why we do not make normal art. So I think all these artists, we have no competition between us because no big money, no prestige. So it's better a cooperation than competition between nature artists. And we would like to give some kind of example with our attitude, as you can see here, that maybe we are the humanity is capable to change the shape of the globe and to build concrete skyscrapers and to destroy the nature. But I think it's better just to feel like part of the nature who is not intending to control the nature. It's better to live with the nature and collaborate the nature. So that's what I wanted to say for today. And I would like to say thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Yes.
I
Thank
don't know
you.
in the
Yes.
time is okay. It's
Yes, it's fine. It's fine. Yes.
okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Istvan, for sharing your experience as a nature artist and showing the new medium of expression. On behalf of Karyashala, once again, I would like to express our gratitude to you for accepting our invitation and joining with us. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
So, viewers, with this, we end our today's program. We will meet again with another interesting person and interesting exchange of thoughts. Till then, bye bye, good night, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you.